Hi everybody, I just finished a private tasting of 5 Van Winkle whiskeys, and now I'm gonna bring that tasting to you with Master Your Glass. Let's go. What can be behind the wall? Welcome back to Master Your Glass. On my table here, I have 5 whiskeys from the Van Winkle lineup. So who is Pappy? Why is this whiskey so hard to find? And is it worth looking for? Well, we're gonna find out right now. So let's get into this. Okay, so what is bourbon? Bourbon is the spirit of America. It's the only liquid that can only be produced in the United States of America. The recipe that is used to make bourbon, that's the grain recipe. It's called the mash bill. It must contain 51% of corn by law, with the remaining 49 being wheat, rye, or barley in any percentage that the producer wants to do it in. Now, most bourbon whiskeys will have more than 51%. They'll have roughly 70% of corn, and corn will give that nice sweetness to bourbon. Once the whiskey is produced, meaning it has been fermented and then distilled, it goes in a barrel, and the barrels that are used to age bourbon whiskey must be used only once, and they must be charred on the inside. There are 4 different chars, so depending on how much the barrel has been burnt, the richer the flavor and the richer the color, and that depends on who the producer is. There are a few other regulations about bourbon whiskey and how to make them. Not really relevant for this video, but of course relevant to understand that America takes incredible pride in making this product. So that brings me to the lineup of the 5 whiskeys that I have today. Now, it's a big hoopla when every fall Pappy Van Winkle releases its yearly allocation of whiskeys. Of course, millions of people are looking for it. Most of them will never be able to get their hands on it because the demand far exceeds their ability to push out this whiskey, and that is actually an understatement. So the popularity of Pappy Van Winkle didn't just happen overnight. It was over 20 years in the making, because in the 1990s, Julian Van Winkle, who was the grandson of the other Julian Van Winkle, also known as Pappy, started blending barrels and bottling bourbons that were 20 and 23 years old. Now, up until that point, anything that was even that old in the bourbon industry was over-oaked and really hard to drink, but Julian had found a way to make that bourbon really easy to drink and extremely approachable. Part of that recipe also involved the fact that these bourbons are wheated, which means the wheat instead of the rye was giving these soft, sweeter flavors, making this whiskey fine and exquisite. Now, in the 90s, there was very little interest for bourbon at all, so this was a big risk. At that time, especially in America, clear spirits were supreme. People were looking for vodka, people were looking for clear rums, maybe a little bit of gin, but aged spirits were just spirits of the past. However, this recipe that Julian Van Winkle put together really started gaining a little bit of attention. And throughout the years, the Pappies started winning awards, they started getting high ratings, and it captured the attention of a distillery, which was the Buffalo Trace. Before 2002, when Buffalo Trace and the Van Winkles joined forces, Julian Van Winkle was basically purchasing old barrels from a distillery that the family used to own and blending them together. But in 2002, when the Buffalo Trace distillery approached the Van Winkles and joined forces, what happened was really cool, because now Buffalo Trace was making the whiskey per their recipe, and the Van Winkle family, especially Julian, could focus a lot more on the marketing, talking to the customers, and bringing popularity to their brand again. The final result of this wasn't just that the Van Winkle line, especially Pappy, became popular and one of the most coveted, but it actually changed the entire industry because it brought attention back to bourbon as we know it today. And today, bourbon whiskey is one of the most popular spirits out there that we are drinking. And that is just about how this all happened. Okay, so this here is the Old Rip Van Winkle 10-year whiskey. It is bottled at 107 proof, which means 53.5. It is almost distilled to that alcohol level. There's just a touch of water in here to drop it just to the right flavor that the distiller's looking for. This, like all the other Van Winkles, unless you're talking about the rye, is the wheated mash bill that you would find in the entire line. And looking at this glass here, it's got a deep copper color to it. Now, when it comes to the nose, I'm just getting some nice toffee, really nice toffee flavors. A little like sweetness, sweet corn aroma. Maybe a little bit, not maybe, quite a bit of baking spices. Yeah, and a nice honey note to it. It's really, really nice. Now, when we taste these, we typically give it a taste without water and then we add a splash. For me, I never drink bourbon neat. I'm always drinking it either with ice or in an old fashioned or with a little bit of water. So I'm gonna go ahead and drink it directly with a little bit of water in there, let it open up a little bit and see what I'm tasting. First off, that mouthfeel. Before I can even talk about what I'm tasting, I have to talk about what I'm feeling. This is pretty velvety. This is really, really nice. Now keep in mind that a 10-year bourbon, while it's the youngest one in the line of the Van Winkle, it's actually, relatively speaking, an older bourbon, so I'm getting those rich notes that the barrel has been able to affect and an amazing texture. Now, what are those flavors? There's toffee, there's a little bit of vanilla, some dark cherry flavors, really, really just a touch of it. More baking spices, a little bit more vanilla, maybe a touch of almost coffee, just like a coffee grind, and a really long finish. A nice lingering spicy finish. It's funny that I'm getting a lot of spice with no rye in the mash bill, but there's a really nice spice that's coming from more than likely the barrel aging. My final thought is this is a really, really, really good whiskey. I still have flavors going on. My mouth is still watering. Tons of flavor here, and I'm really impressed. This one here is the Van Winkle 12-year Special Reserve. It says Lot B. It will continue to say Lot B from what I know. And so what I have here again is just a nice deep copper color here on this whiskey. Again, traditional wheated mash bill here, bottled at 90.4 alcohol by volume, which means it's a little lower in alcohol. I love when they add the little 0.4. That means that there was some effort put in getting the right concentration of flavors into this bottle. This one comes across as a little more playful than the previous version, and by playful I mean a little more apple and like some pear notes. Yeah, tropical. Oh my God, there's like a coconut just popped out at me. Yeah, very tropical. Gosh, if I didn't know this was whiskey, I'd think I was smelling a tiki cocktail of some sort. Really, really cool. Let me go ahead and add a splash of water to this. Just a few drops will do. Just some nice, again, toffee and some dark cherry notes. A little touch of almond, and I get almond marzipan very frequently in bourbons. Touch sweet. And then what I'm getting is a really long toffee butterscotch finish. And I mean, it's still there, and it will appears that it's gonna be here in my mouth for a really, really long time. So really impressed by this one. Easy drinking, one of the fun ones, I guess, so far, because I'm just getting that nice little tropical aroma on the nose. It's also making its way into my palate. So now the whiskey has a little orange peel flavor that I'm tasting, which is really fun for a whiskey like this. And I have thoroughly enjoyed this one. What I have here now is the youngest of the Pappy Van Winkle line, which is the 15-year. This one here is bottled at 107 proof, 53.5. The mash bill is the weeded mash bill that is particular of this bourbon line. And the colors all seem to be the same. This is a mahogany, rich color here, and I'm in a dark room. I don't have a white backdrop, so I can't see it perfectly, but that's what it would appear to be to me. Let's go ahead and see what is on the nose here. I'm getting a little bit of like orange zest, a little tartness too to it. It's like a sweet sugar, like a dark sugar, a demerara sugar aroma to this one. And that cherry that is that I've found in most of the Van Winkles, I'm finding it in here as well. Really, really nice. Touch of baking spice on the sweeter side. Let me add some water here. Okay, and wow, this is powerful whiskey. Amazing. The minute it hit my tongue, it burst in flavors. Again, I'm getting toffee, baking spices, that cherry that I'm getting, but just in a big concentrate. A little bit again of sugar. There's some simple syrup, but more of like a demerara sugar in here. And then more of an orange zest flavor. So a little, I don't know, a little candied orange flavor going on as well. As it evolves, some of those fruity, playful flavors go away, and now what it's evolving to is just a little bit of a spice, toffee, a hint of black pepper on the finish, which is long. And as you know, I don't like to go on for a very long time on what I taste. I touch on a few things and then I move on, but this is still going on right now. And again, now I just have a little kind of note of coffee in my mouth, but a really long coffee. And on that coffee, there's just a sprinkle of pepper. This is quite an amazing whiskey. All right, so what I have here now is the Pappy Van Winkle 20-year. Yes, it's aged for 20 years. This one here is bottled at 45.2, so 90.4 proof. This whiskey here scored 99 out of 100 points at the Beverage Tasting Institute in Chicago. And so not only was this the highest rating American whiskey, I believe it tied 99 points tied as the highest whiskeys of all times with another whiskey in Scotland. Again, the mash bill here is going to be the typical wheated mash bill. Just the age, of course, is older, and we're talking now 20-year-old whiskeys here. Dark, nice, deep mahogany color here going on. Oh wow, the nose, I'm immediately getting like a pipe tobacco, but inside that pipe tobacco, there's of course cherry. There's a little bit of toffee, but there's more like almost like a milk chocolate, like a sweet milk chocolate aroma. A little butteriness as well. Again, but a sweeter style. There's a lot of nice aromatic sweetness to it. Might even be a little bit of lemon or some sort of citrus here going on. That is an incredible nose, by the way. There is truly a lot going on the aroma of this whiskey here. I'm adding a little bit of water to open it up just a tad. Because of the alcohol content being lower, this one here comes across as a little bit less powerful than the previous one that I drank, but it's really, really balanced. It's actually quite nice, nicely integrated of so many different flavors going on. Toffee, nuttiness, maybe some pecan nuts to this. A sweet orange flavors, a little bit of sherry, pipe tobacco again, which pipe tobacco is always very aromatic. Now I'm starting to get a little bit of the toffee notes again towards the end. I was expecting that at 20 years this would have been incredibly oaky. It is oaky, but honestly, it might even be that the splash of water helped, but really well integrated, like not an oak bomb that you would expect from something that has sat for 20 years. And it is said that the Van Winkles have and have had through 4 generations, an amazing ability to basically understand how to marry barrels together so that they can take the aroma of one and the flavor of one and integrate it well with the flavors of another. And that was the skill, and I can tell that skill is here. I now have a mouthful of chocolate, just a chocolate flavor to it, and that's coming from the oakiness. That chocolate is getting a little sweet, and there's a little bit of spices to it. And wow, what a powerful whiskey. This is the first time that I have tried the 20-year today. And so, I mean, not the first time today. Today is the first time ever that I've tried it. And so I'm really impressed, and I really, really like it. I thought it was gonna be a little more difficult to drink, but yeah, this is an amazing whiskey. So what I have here now is the Pappy Van Winkle 23-year, one of the rarest, hardest to find whiskeys, bourbon whiskeys on the market today. Traditional wheated mash bill from this distillery, and these barrels are married. The barrels that are married in this whiskey are all 23 years old, and they come from a special part of the warehouse, according to what the bottler is saying, in order to really give the flavor that they are looking for. This one here is bottled at 47.8 alcohol by volume. That's 95.6 proof. Okay, what are we smelling here? Sweet chocolate. Vanilla, of course. The cherry is still there, but kind of an interesting tartness to this aroma. Oh no, it's like a minerality. There's like a There's like a nickel inside of this glass right now, and I'm smelling it. It's really nice. Nice and dry. Yeah, some tobacco notes. Really, really nice. Tobacco, chocolate, vanilla, nuttiness, minerality. Yeah, this is a great, really, really great aroma. I'm gonna set that here and just add a couple of drops of water in this bad boy. Let it open up just a little bit and let's see what is going on now. Well, it went really nice pruny on me, like figs and prunes and almond marzipan and cigar tobacco, like a tobacco flavor to it. Incredibly nice texture. Now it's evolving into a dark chocolate. I have a nice dark chocolate flavor in my mouth. I just ate dark chocolate and swallowed it, and it's right now just making my mouth taste amazing. Wow. Yeah, I would have expected, as the same example when I drank the 20-year, I would have expected this to be over oaky. It is definitely oaky. There is a lot of those wood characters coming, but for a 23-year, again, the blending of the barrels, they did a really good job at making it just enough that I can personally bear. Now that minerality that I was getting on the aroma, I'm finally getting it on my second sip, kind of towards the tip of my tongue. And again, it's almost like there's a little nickel on top of my tongue, and I'm tasting it, but above that, I'm getting all those tobacco, chocolate, caramel, nutty, cherry flavors from this whiskey. And now again, there's just that nice dark chocolate flavor all over my mouth, and it is long. What an amazing job. My thoughts on this is that they really did a great job for a 23-year whiskey in making it very drinkable, very playful. Now, don't get me wrong, this isn't like a whiskey and Coke whiskey here. But for a 23-year, gosh, they did a really good job at making it highly drinkable. And so I could understand why it's also very sought after. This is an incredible whiskey, and I thoroughly enjoyed it.